Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy, Sneakerbox O, back with another episode of eaux+knows. And you know about the stuff that I was talking about earlier? In case you missed it, go back and check my last little show that I did. I put it up on the channel, and I was talking about how mainstream media pretty much covering bullshit when they were, wasting their coverage on this Blac Chyna and Rob Kardashian story. I'm like, basically my point was that they could be covering something of more substance, vice, basically promoting whatever that is. I don't know what you want to call that. I don't know if they have a television show. I don't know if it's part of, the brand as far as just keeping them relevant in media, not just social media. You would think that would be enough. But one of the things that I was kind of trying to talk about, kind of touch on, was that like this other stuff going on that can be covered by mainstream media. Now, one of the things that has been quiet, like this is the stuff that I'm talking about, like mainstream media, what their coverage on, stuff that they should be reporting to the people on the large scale, is a story coming out of Louisiana of this guy named Dejuan+guillory. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but Dejuan+guillory. He was shot and killed by I believe it was like a sheriff deputy in Louisiana. I don't know how to say that name of that city, Mamu. I don't really know, but it's in Louisiana, and another black African American shot by law enforcement. This time, this guy was laying on his back. This is the story that was reported. I'm assuming it's very accurate, because this is being reported by a few outlets, and also, the Louisiana State Police Department has put out statements and stuff as well. So I believe this story is pretty accurate, but it hasn't got wide media coverage. And, it's something that I know it's kind of like beating the dead horse. Some people will say, it happens all the time, but this is the kind of stuff that we need to know that it's still happening, vice these distractions, because everybody in the country doesn't see this and doesn't experience this stuff. A lot of this stuff, sometimes they're like, you'll hear people say, well, shit, I don't experience racism. Like somebody said racism doesn't exist. It is because a lot of these people, a lot of the times, some people just don't see it happening. So then they don't have that energy to put towards to it. But if they know what's going on at certain parts of the country to their people, it might spark your interest and want to, do something, whatever they can do to just raise awareness on it, and hopefully something can change. Now, this guy was shot, I believe it said he was laying on his stomach. He had gotten into like a physical altercation with the deputy officer, the sheriff, whatever, and they had been pulled over. I don't know I guess it could have been a suspicion of a burglary. I don't really know why. I guess there was a call of a burglary in the area, and then they had a deputy in the area, and they just, I don't know, I guess they suspected them as being the suspects. I can't really, I don't know how they got pulled over. From what the story that the woman said, who was riding with this gentleman, Mr. Guillory, Dejuan+guillory, she says that, she's the girlfriend, and she was saying that, they were just riding, and they noticed the deputy, they passed up his car, and they noticed he started following them, so they pulled over, and then from there, I guess the sheriff guy asked for ID. They didn't have ID. So, he told the guy, step out the car or come over to his car. They kind of got into an argument. Then I guess it became a physical altercation where the female says that she, told her boyfriend, yo, come back over here, like, to stop. And so he let up off him. I guess he was whooping the dude's ass or something. He was whooping the sheriff, the deputy officer's ass. That's what I'm going to assume was happening. She told him, yo, come back. He let up off him, went back to his car. Now, from that point, you get into a physical altercation with a cop. That's trouble right there. That's just, regardless of what it's about, you're going to be in trouble because they can throw all kind of charges at you at that point. I mean, they'll figure it out later, but you're probably going to go to jail, and it's not going to be a good outcome. So right there, you're already in trouble. So he goes, I guess he goes towards this girl. I don't look at it like he was trying to leave. It's just that, just trying to get away from that situation. Well, then the guy, the deputy officer, from what this report says, that he kind of confronted the female, and then, I guess it kind of sparked up more, little altercation or whatever. And then he ordered both of them to lay on the ground, to get on the ground. So he says that, and then the guy starts, they kind of get into another argument with Dejuan and the officer. They're kind of shouting back at each other. And this is the female's recollection of the story, of the events that happened. She says that the guy, she doesn't see it, but she just hears a gun shot. Boom. So there she knows that her boyfriend was shot by this officer. So then she gets up. She says she gets up, and then she jumps on the officer's back, and I guess there she kind of bites him in the neck because she says she's trying to protect her boyfriend from being killed by this officer. He lets off some more shots, I guess 3 more shots. So he shoots this dude in the back, who, might I add, is unarmed, does not have a weapon. So, that's already, that's bad. He's laying on the ground on his stomach with his hands behind his back. And, I don't understand why would you shoot someone like that. I don't know. I guess I don't know all the details of the story, but from what I've gathered, I don't see why you would shoot him. You have them. You have the people on the ground, on their belly. They don't have weapons. They have their hands. They got their hands pretty much behind their back. Wow. So she bit him on the neck, and then he shoots the guy 3 more times. So he pretty much, makes sure that he kills the person. And so she let go. I mean, I can imagine, when she's on his back, she can see her boyfriend pretty much, getting killed. So she jumps off, and he goes over there to the car. And I guess within the scuffle, he had dropped his radio. So the female calls for help with his radio. The ambulances arrive, and they took the deputy, and they also, I guess they tried to, they didn't really try to aid the guy Dejuan as much. The 2 ambulances came on scene, but they took the injured officer, and then they just left the scene quick. They didn't try to perform CPR according to her, so that one's gonna be. I don't understand why stuff like that is not getting coverage, because that's very dangerous and that's very troubling and disturbing. That's a disturbing story. That's something that I feel should be gaining more coverage than it is, especially with these times, because you have to raise this awareness and let people know that this stuff is going on. Like I said, we don't know all the details, but from what I've gathered so far, this is not right. So I just don't understand why the media doesn't cover. I know they do, and then they don't. They need to keep a consistency on what they're covering, because then it leaves open that door of doubt with media, especially with mainstream media, as far as manipulating people's minds. I feel like now, after reading this thing, because this thing happened last week, I hadn't heard really nothing of it. Now I feel like little stupid stories like this crap that, the whole Black China Rob thing, I feel like those are distractions that are put out to distract our minds on what's really going on, reality. You know, especially for African Americans, black people, minorities, this country in general. So I don't know. I don't know what you guys feel about this. What is your take on the whole situation, on situations like that where mainstream media will kind of put up a distraction to, you know, and I'm not saying there's probably other stories that are going on in the country that we just don't know about because they'll cover nonsense. Leave the nonsense for social media. It'll cover itself. It's gossip at the end of the day. It'll reach whoever it needs to reach. But for mainstream media, you guys need to be, I feel like there needs to be a better representation as far as what is being reported and covered, you know, for the people to know what's actually going on, not nonsense, you know. We can talk about it. But I feel like mainstream media has a more of a responsibility. You know, guys like myself can talk about these different things, but I feel like mainstream media has a bigger responsibility on what they should put coverage on. You know, that's just my opinion. I like to know how you guys feel on it, and how do you feel about the whole thing with Dejuan+guillory? Have you even heard of the story? Did you even know that happened? That he was murdered. He was killed by a cop, lying on his stomach, hands up. I mean, we've heard it before, you know, but it's a whole nother new case. You know what I mean? I'll try to keep my ears out to, you know, try to understand, see what's going on with this case, how it unravels, any more details that come out into this. But let me know what you feel about this, and, you know, how do you feel about mainstream media manipulating us, putting up distractions, clouds, smoke, so we kind of miss what's really going on in reality. I appreciate the listen, as always. Stay tuned to the channel. I'll be putting up more. And hit that subscribe button as well. And leave me a comment. Leave me a comment down below. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Until the next time, in the meantime, and in between time, y'all stay cool, stay up. Peace.